Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning trading room. We're going to do another rabbit hole Friday. Fridays sometimes being a little sketchy trade-wise, although yesterday was kind of a sketchy day. I was just reviewing what was going on during the rest of yesterday's session, and here's the daily chart. You can see very quiet kind of day overall, and yet there were some relatively dramatic swings throughout the day. Most of those coming, well, yeah, it was kind of evenly paced throughout the day, wasn't it? But still, a decent move higher and lower. And then they kind of rallied up again to establish a really broad trading range. Okay, I didn't get any requests for any indicator in particular to feature today, so I thought I would show you about RSI. I would make you all, excuse me, RSI experts, and I'll show you. I've set up the RSI here on the Hawk, the Eagle, and the Raptor already. And Frank, I'll get to your question in just a second. Let me show you first how I set up the RSI. I've got two different versions set up here, but let me just set up the last one here on the Falcon. Actually, it's going to be a little bit more involved. Maybe I should get to Frank's question first. Oh, okay. Frank says, good morning. How can the yellow writing that shows the indicators applied to the chart at the top of the chart be removed? Okay, well, your question is actually timely, so I will be able to show you that. It's actually very simple. And I know what you mean, especially if you're like me and you can shrink up your charts, all that writing can become quite annoying. All right, here we go. All right, RSI. RSI stands for Relative Strength Index, and it's one of these indicators that was developed by a fellow by the name of Wells Wilder, who is actually a mathematician. And when I first started trading, and of course the tendency is to look to an indicator to help you judge and generate signals, I settled on RSI as my indicator of choice, mostly because I knew RSI was on every package. I would never have to worry about not having RSI available. It's so common. It's used for stocks, Forex, futures, of course. And it turns out that it's actually, or can be, a pretty reliable indicator when used properly. And by that I mean, don't get obsessed with tweaking the lights out of your indicator trying to eliminate every bad signal, because it ain't going to happen. Here's your standard RSI with NinjaTrader. When I first loaded the RSI on Ninja years ago, I was surprised to see they had this smoothing function, or this average function, because I never used it. So I'm not really going to show you how to use that so much. But Frank, I can deal with your question right here. On each of the indicators that you have loaded, there's going to be a category called label, and that has the name of the indicator on it. If you delete that and press apply, it will remove all the labels and clean up your charts considerably. All right, RSI typically has an overbought and oversold region. By default, these are 70 and 30. I'm going to show you a couple alternatives. For the purposes of this chart, however, I'm going to change my settings to 50. Put it right in the middle. So I'll just have those two lines overlap. And RSI, I don't know, ever since I started using it, I've always made it a bright pink, a fuchsia. I think actually NinjaTrader took away my fuchsia, so magenta will have to do. And let's make it a little bit broader. And regarding the average line, I'm just going to make that transparent. So we'll allow that to load. Okay. So I've got two of the charts with this version of RSI, and I've got two of the charts with the other version of RSI. So I can show you both. The other version places the four sets of lines, one line at 80, one line at 60, another line at 40, and another line at 20. All right, and I'll show you how all that works. Here, let's start with the simple version first, or the simplified RSI. Now, what RSI attempts to do, because it's an oscillator, it will plot between a 0 and 100. It will never get above 0 or below 100. To kind of show the halfway point, that's why I put the 50 line right through there. The RSI plots changes in price, and it tries to interpret it and tries to tell you when a market is more bullish or bearish, or when it's kind of reached a tipping point. And as a result, sometimes you can get an indication of what the market's going to do next. Occasionally, RSI has this very unique feature where it will actually move before price does. It doesn't happen that often. When I was using it more with my end of day charts, it was something that I would closely watch while I was trading cocoa, because that was the market it seemed to happen the most in, where RSI went one direction, price did not confirm until a day or two later. So it actually gives you a chance to give you a significant heads up. Generally speaking, with RSI, if we are above the 50 level, we are going to be bullish. If we are below the 50 level, we are going to be bearish. RSI has this, let's see if I can find one that looks a little bit more textbook. It has a failure pattern that you like to look out for. Where'd you go? All right. Here, we'll just go to the very beginning. We had one right here. I wanted to find one that was perhaps a little bit more textbook. This RSI has tests of the extreme, especially when it starts to get up to these overbought and oversold levels, which traditionally are the 70 and 30. So if you wanted to add a couple of more lines so that you're aware when those areas occur. Oh, here, why don't we do that? Okay, I'll show you how I add additional lines. The Ninja has this tool here called constant lines, or they did. Right there, constant lines. You can use that, or a more primitive version is to load another RSI, delete the name, put it on the same panel as your last one, I'll leave the lines at 70 and 30, and I will just make my RSI transparent. Or like I said, Ninja has that constant line feature, which is probably a little bit easier. Okay, now we have two more lines, just to help highlight when the market might be getting overbought or oversold. So when we start to get up toward this region, we're going to look for a test of the extreme, essentially. And that test of the extreme and the failure of it is going to open up an opportunity. So here we have the test of the extreme, and we're going to be looking for the market to breach this level right here on the RSI. And once it has done so, now it opens up the possibility that the market's going to start to head lower. It's called a failure swing. You can call it a test of the extreme, a 1, 2, 3 top, however you want to refer to it. It's essentially showing you the same thing that we see when we're looking at prices. It's showing us a market that cannot go any higher, at least according to the indicator. And the idea from that is that there's going to be some bearish follow through as a result. And in this case, there was. So an interesting little thing to keep a lookout for when you're trading your RSI. And it's something that tends to occur near the extreme points. Typically, it looks a little better when, let's see, I also put RSI here on the Eagle the same way. Let's see if they give a better failure swing. No, not really. All right. RSI can also be traded much the same way as you would trade your prices. You can use a lot of the same tools. I always used to like putting trend lines on my RSI. So I would draw a trend line like this, and when that trend line broke, that would make me more bearish. Oops, went a little too far. So here we go. We've got the trend line. The trend line breaks. I will now expect the market to head lower. And you can see as far as the price trend line goes, we haven't broken the price trend line yet, have we? But RSI is a little bit ahead of the curve, and we've broken our RSI. Same thing when you're looking at a downtrend. When the RSI breaches here, we would be looking for the market to become a little bit more bullish. Now, trend lines, of course, tend to be a little bit more subjective, which can make it a little bit more difficult. But knowing that the market may have a more bearish posture after that break, it does open up the possibility of trying to get in a little bit earlier, or perhaps even get in with a little bit, just getting in with a little bit more confidence, really. You can draw your trend lines however you want, just how you would do on a chart. So you can draw trend lines like this. You can draw trend lines like that. However you want to do it. If you're finding that you're getting too many peaks and valleys, you can certainly slow down your RSI a little bit by changing the values. A lot of times I just stay with the defaults. Come on. But like I said, if you wanted to slow it down somewhat, you could go to 20 or 21. A lot of traders like to use 25. I never really got onto that one. Let's see, is it still loading? Nope, that's it. Really? Is that 25? Oh, that's 21. Okay, it didn't look that different. It didn't look that different from the 14. Let's throw a 25 on here. See what that looks like. Oh yeah, so it really doesn't change it all that much. So we'll stay with the default. It made bigger changes when I was doing it on a time-based chart. If you did that, well, here, let's do it right here. So here's our daily chart, and we'll throw RSI on here. So if we did it on a time-based chart, it would be a little bit more pronounced. And we'll just delete the average line, brighten up our RSI line. Okay, so there's a 14 period on the daily chart. And now if I change that to 25, even there it didn't affect it all that much. Typically what it does is you can see it flattens it out a little bit. 9, for whatever reason, the 9 is also a popular value. Maybe the smoothing is affecting it. No. While I'm on this one, I do believe Ninja gives you different RSIs. No, that's the ultimate RSI from Indicator Warehouse that I should have put on. There's different calculation methods with RSI. I didn't even think of that. Well, you can get the ultimate RSI from Indicator Warehouse. And I will show you that here in a moment. All right, so let's put the daily away. Okay, so if you go to Indicator Warehouse and you type in Ultimate RSI, it gives you the RSI, but it also gives you some other calculation methods. You can use Cutler's, Wilder's, or the exponential. Wilder's is the original. I think by default, most of them use the exponential. I think that's the one Ninja uses. You also get my book, RSI, the Day Trader Secret Weapon. Some of the things that we're going to be covering here today. It has all these cool features. And best of all, it's free. What? Yep, it's free. So if you go to the website, you may even be able to access it from the members area. Otherwise, go to the website, submit your name and email, and you'll get a download link for it. It will ask you to verify your license. It is free. It's not going to cost you, but you got to shoot an email to Ben so that he can verify your license. All right. Like I said, with RSI, you can do a lot of different things, just like you would do on a price chart. So if you can establish channels or wedges. But typically, my favorite things to do would be to look for those price swings, those failures when the market starts to get very overbought or oversold, or to see trend line breaks. So if I saw a trend line like this, the market's heading down, I draw a trend line across the two peaks, I get a break. At this point, I become more bullish. And you can see today the market very constipated, but we did get a few ticks to the upside. Before we leave this version of RSI, let me go back here to the Falcon. The 50 line. Sometimes traders would just like to use the 50 line as a signal trigger. So the market goes above the 50, or the RSI goes above the 50, you look to buy, goes below the 50, you look to sell. I was never all that keen on using that, but in a way you could use it in a similar fashion to how we were using MACD last week or the week before, where you can highlight the last peak or the last valley and use a breach of those as an indication of which way the market might go next. So there's the peak, there's the valley breach. I would suggest you wait for a proper signal to avoid this kind of nonsense, or maybe use a second push on the signal. So here we breached to the short side. We printed a signal, thank goodness we didn't engage it. Now we're breaching to the top side. And again, you always want to go off that last pivot. So now we have a pivot here. Now we have a pivot here. Okay, are we going to break? All right, so we broke that. Now you can use this bar as your signal bar, perhaps. And you can throw your order in above there. And it looks like we're getting at least a little bit of follow through, or got a little bit of follow through on that. So also kind of a very helpful way to try to keep on top of which way the market is leaning. Then of course, with this pivot here, the market breaks down, and now we're looking for a move lower. And you can continue to do that all the way through. Every time you get a peak or valley, you can anticipate that the market should continue in the direction of the breach. So let's see how we're doing right now. Okay, so we got a little valley right there. We got a peak up here at the 70 line. We may see another failure. We may see the market try to head lower from here. And if you follow RSI, after a little while, you're going to get pretty good at anticipating when the indicator will actually breach. So let's say the next bar forms lower and RSI goes like that. I can probably see if this bar finishes like that. And the indicator went like this, I could probably anticipate a break of there would lead to a break of the RSI. So I could already anticipate an order and place it down there. All right. Now it looks like they made a couple little upticks here. And once we get that failure, that test of the extreme and the failure, you can see as far as RSI is concerned, it's having a tough time getting above 70. So here we go. This is our first time above 70. We'll see if the market has any follow through from there. Once we get, you see that hook just off that one bar. Okay, so I would be either looking for a breach or a breach, either or. You can't take the overbought, oversold regions too literally, because what tends to happen very often is that a market will get overbought or oversold according to the indicator, but yet it will continue to trend. Well, that's because overbought or oversold mathematically just shows you an abundance of buying or selling. So it is not uncommon for the indicator to get into the overbought or oversold region and stay there for a while, and the market continue to trend higher. That's why it's more important that you consider a breach, a failure, as an entry opportunity, rather than, ooh, RSI went into the 70 region and came out, it must be overbought, I'm going to start selling. Bad idea. Bad idea. Always wait for your indicator to confirm what it is you're looking at or what it is you're seeing. And note how RSI is now starting to respect this trend line, and we produced a pivot right there. So now if we breach here, I can look for a possible short, or if we breach the 70 region, I can look for a possible buy. Oh, little note here before we leave the Falcon. Mark says, I mentioned the other day that I've been starting to incorporate some small two-card late filter entries in the EMD, that's the mid-cap S&P 400, also known as. And it's been working out well by adding some decent income here and there to the bottom line over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, the mid-cap is a great little market, or a not so little market. All right, let's do it for the sake of the room. We're going to look to, I'm going to look to short this breach of the RSI. Now I've got an early Falcon signal here. And let's see if the RSI follows through. The indicator already heading lower, prices not yet. And what I'll do is I will back off my exit order just a little bit and then bring it back in if we continue lower. And then I'll show you another interesting way. Oh, Scott, Scott, I can never tell if you're trying to be funny or not. Scott's asking, is that END? No, EMD. And I'll send that to everybody. Okay, so there's, interestingly enough, there's a failure that did not have any follow through to it. And so in this case, now we're actually starting to get a little bit more bullish. Right back up there, checking out that last swing. We actually got a fairly decent little rally going on here today. Okay, so now the RSI is above here. Note we are in the overbought region, but I'm going to bring down my order now, and we'll use that. This bar here that breached this peak as our entry bar now. And I will throw a profit order in up there. So we'll just kind of reverse what we've been doing. Oh, look at you guys. I guess one good thing about an indicator like this, rather than get bored and be tempted to throw an order in on your chart nilly-willy, you can play with your indicator. All right, here we go again. So we're breaching below, suggesting that I should have left my buy limit order down here. Okay, so there's a breach. There's the early signal. Let's get up there now and take a look at shorting. And how about we make the resistance line here our target? All right, they brought me in. Let's see if there's going to be any bearish follow through on this. You're going to notice that around the 50 line, there's very often going to be a little hesitation. So that also kind of gives you an opportunity to know when to adjust your stops, because if the market comes down, does a little hiccup, and then continues lower, well, that's the good time to start rolling your stops down. Notice, as far as the Falcon is concerned, we are still full on bullish. The Falcon has not turned over yet. right, so far so good. Here we are at the 50% level. We're through, that's good. Watch, there'll be a little hiccup. So what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for this kind of thing to go on. And once that happens, then I can bring my stop down. This would be much easier to demonstrate if it was moving a little bit faster. And that little bounce that I'm anticipating around the 50% level here will very likely produce a trend change signal in the Falcon as well. Come on. All right, well here, let's tighten this up so I can get to the other RSI. Or, you know what, we'll just close it out. There we go. Forgot, just close it, Eric. All right, so there's a very simplified way to use RSI, and it can be very effective. I'll leave it to you to do the back testing on it and follow through. But I think you will find that, you know, just simple little trend lines, simple little failures will very often help keep you on the right side of the market, especially if you follow up with what's going on the chart as well. Muy importante. Always temper what you see on your indicator with what's going on your chart. All right, let's take a look now at the other version of the RSI. This one has a couple more lines to it. And I should have looked up the fellow's name again. It escapes me right now, the fellow who first noticed this, but it's a very interesting phenomenon on RSI where you actually have four sets of lines. And you know what? Let me make these lines a little bit more obvious. I'll make it, there we go, good old red. There, that stands out. When the, oh, I should have flipped them, but it doesn't matter. These lines are paired color-wise to make a point. When RSI is trading between 40, sorry, I'm stumbling here. RSI will have a tendency to trade between 40 and 80 or between 20 and 60. And knowing that, you'll have a pretty good idea whether the market is bullish or bearish. So when it comes back down here, because we're trading between 40 and 80 right now that we're back down near the 40 line, we're going to anticipate some sort of bullish reaction. You can see it happened here. The market was trading between 40 and 80 came down to the 40 line, gave us a bullish reaction. Raptor produced a number 1 signal, and we go higher. This was just a great big sideways mess, and you could see the market could not get up to 80. It was stuck below 60, or just a little bit above 60 and a little bit below 40. So this kind of confirming when the market is stuck here that it really isn't a sideways range. Well, you probably figured it out already, but in case I didn't mention it, when the market is trading between 60 and 20, it's in a downtrend. So here it is between 60 and 20. The market goes up. It encounters the 60 zone. We're going to anticipate some sort of selling opportunity. So you can look for your next sell signal. Where are you? Stinker. It took a little bit late printing, and then we ended up going in the sideways range. But it's a very interesting phenomenon. So here is another one. The market's it's bouncing off of the 80. It comes down to the 40. There's the bounce. So it's down at the 40. We would not look at doing the number 2 signal. Why? Well, because we just bounced off the 80. We're bouncing off of the 40. We are in a bullish trading zone on RSI. So we're going to look for a buy opportunity. And there's yet another number 2 signal, but look at this, the number 2 signal printing to sell, and RSI has this bullish swing. This is what I was mentioning to you about trading cocoa on a daily chart with RSI. It looks like prices want to head lower, and all of a sudden we get this bullish increase. And prices should follow the RSI. Okay, here now we get the number 3 signal, and we've had a very nice bounce off of the 40. And look at that, some very decent follow through on that signal. When you're doing this, it takes a little while to get used to seeing it this way. But you can also incorporate your trend lines. You can also incorporate your failure swings. Those will also work, but it gives you a different zone to concentrate on. All right, so we're between the 80 and the 40. We just took a bounce here off of the 40. So we would be looking for a confirmation now on the charts, and we would be looking for a buy signal. If this starts to break down now, if it starts to break down and gets down here toward the 20, well, it depends how aggressive you want to be. You could try to short the failure swing or the swing failure. Or you can let it get down to 20. This is where patience plays a key. Let it get down to 20, wait for it to get back to 60, and then look for confirmation that the market is now in a bearish range. See, there's that bounce off of the 40 zone again. And again, you can't micromanage. Okay, there we go. We got to buy. Let's just buy in. Okay, it's up here to the 60. Let's get over the 60. Here, let's try to run this one out a little bit because I want to show you how you can use RSI to manage your trades as well. Oh, you stinkers. You see, we're at the 60 zone. It's thinking about it. Oh, there's that hook. Okay, so I anticipated a hook at the 60, which is why I brought my trade to break even already. There we go. Okay, so you see this little pivot that we have here in the RSI now? That's my cue to roll my stops. If I hadn't rolled my stops before, that's where I want to roll my stops now. Okay, the fact that the 60 zone is holding is making this market a lot more bearish. Okay, we're through the 40. We are definitely getting a little bit more bearish now. See, and if you, depending on how aggressive you want it to be, once we saw that 60 zone hold and that little failure right there, you could have started selling right here. Again, it all depends on how aggressive of a trader you want to be. Oh, actually, I guess I did color it right. Yeah. This is the bullish zone, the 80 and the 40. This is the bearish zone, the 60 and the 20. And it can make for some very good trending opportunities as well, because you'll see the market come down here. It'll get somewhere around the 20 zone. It'll rally up, get somewhere near the 60 zone, and then you just start shorting. Just look for a good reason to get short. Well, see, another little hook, another little failure swing failure. Sorry, I'll get it right yet. I haven't been doing this long enough. Another swing failure, right? We got our little test of the extreme, and so we would anticipate prices to head higher from here. I did this also on the hawk. So same thing, I'll change the colors on this. There we go. All right, so now we're more bearish, right? We're stuck between, well, not really stuck, but we're trading between the 60 and the 20. So we just bounced off of the 20. We're up near the 60. So now I'm going to look for a short order. I'll look for a chance to sell. And we've got the macro pullback, but we've also got a yellow bar, which is going to spoil it a little bit, but we'll see. If RSI confirms it, then maybe I'll try to short it. Okay, there it is. It's confirmed. So I'll short it. And let's see if we can get down to our profit target. Now, if this RSI hooks up and goes like that, well, then that's my cue to maybe start bringing my stops down, because there's a chance it's going to try to run up here to 80. Oh, there's a little bit of a hook. So let me bring my stops in. Okay, nice little swing. Let's see if we get the failure, if it breaks below here. Remember, it's trading now between 60 and 20, so we're going to anticipate that it's going to move down here to the 20 zone. All right, we breached that little pivot. All right, almost there. I can bring my stops now down to break even +2 or 3. Yeah, hold on a second, Mark. I will show you how I got the 60 and 40 lines. Just kissing the profit target. Come on, you guys. Oh, well, you know what? It was a good day to do our Rabbit Hole Friday because this would have just been brutal trading today. Okay, Mark's asking, how did you get 4 lines on your chart? RSI, of course, only has 2 lines. There's 2 ways that you can do it. You can use the constant lines from, there we are. So you can use the constant lines that come with your NinjaTrader and just set your 4 lines using that. I did a bit of a cheat. I double loaded RSI, and on the second one, I made the indicator itself transparent. Same thing with the average line. I changed their color values to transparent. And then I modified the lines to whatever values I needed. All right, so now we're trapped, it seems, between 40 and 60, which suggests that maybe the market's going to go sideways. Oh, there's a nice little bounce off the 60. Okay, let's look to short it. So this, is it a rule of, or pardon me, a 4-arrow consolidation, a very sloppy one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 4-arrow consolidation to short. So we're getting a little confirmation there now on the hawk. Obviously, I'm in a little bit early. And here too, you can see that the RSI a little bit ahead of the curve. We're testing the trend line already on RSI. Oh, I guess we are testing or near testing a trend line on the price chart. The ultimate RSI from Indicator Warehouse, which if I were smart is the one I would be featuring. It also gives you crossover alerts, which are very cool. So you can actually print arrows when these types of situations develop. Come on. I know you want to head lower because the RSI already hooked lower. Us RSI traders refer to these things as hooks. When it pivots like that, it's a hook. Make you sound cool. Because successful trading is all about being cool. Okay, good question. Mark says, since we're doing Rabbit Hole Friday, what do the constant lines do on the Ninja charts? I will show you. Yay! Hit our profit target. All right. Let me go to this one. All right, so we've got the indicators. We're going to go to constant lines, and we will load those lines. Okay, so you get an assortment of lines here. You plug in your values. So I want to have 80, 60, 40, and 20. So you insert your values for your lines. I'll delete the name just so it's not so cluttered on my chart. I want these to be on my RSI chart. So I'll put them on panel 3. And this is where you can go to change your colors. I'll just go with the default colors for this. Apply. And voila. You can tell the RSI line because it will shoot right through the chart. The constant lines always seem to have a little bit of a break here. They will only go as far as the price. But that's how you can easily put a few more lines on your chart. And here we go, yet another. Oh, actually, the daily chart is looking a little bit bullish. Scott says we're always bullish on a Friday. He may be right. And if he's not, I will share Scott's contact information with you so you can get a hold of him personally. All right, here's a little trend line breach. Here now, a trend change signal on the Falcon. We could be looking for a second push opportunity off of this signal right here. So we saw the market flinch right there. I'm going to make note of where my stop is and just pull it out of the way, especially since RSI just hooked lower again. Yeah, so Mark asks, so if we're stuck between the 40 and the 60, does that mean we are in chop? Yes. So if we're having a hard time staying above the 60 or staying below the 40, as we are right now, the market is sideways. What you're looking for it to get bullish is you want to see it get up in this zone here. So you'd like to see it get up to 80, come back down to 40, and that would confirm the bullishness. And likewise, now that we're at 60, we're starting to hook. We could anticipate that it gets down to 20, but it's more advisable to let it get down to 20 first, then get up to 60, then look for the selling opportunity. All right, well, we just breached here now. All right, so we could be looking for a reason to get short or possibly anticipate the market to get short. Like I said, the nice thing about RSI is, well, I guess you could even move this shaded block higher or lower just to keep you looking in the right direction. Nice thing about RSI, because you can draw trend lines and things of that nature, for those of you who are ADD, it gives you something to do. All right, so we've got a 60, it's stuck between 60 and 40. Let's see what happens if we bracket the 60 and 40 zone and just anticipate a breakout above the price that set the 60 zone, below the prices that set the 40 zone. Let's see if we get a breakout that sticks. Oh, okay, great. Good to know, because Mark says, awesome, this has been very educational, and I've enjoyed learning the past 2 Fridays. 2 thumbs up for Rabbit Hole Fridays. See, I never know, because most of the people in the room never give me any feedback. Most of you guys and girls are just lurking. So I don't know what you like, what's helpful, and what isn't helpful. If there's something I'm doing that you like and you want to see more of, by all means, let me know. And likewise, if there's something that I'm doing that you don't like, I would appreciate if you let me know that as well. Because I'm doing this for you. I'm not getting up early for me. I think I've told you before, when I trade, I get into my office at 7 o'clock. That's early enough for me. All right. Are we going to break the 40 this time? Oh, we're right there. Okay. I'm getting a few kudos on the Rabbit Hole Fridays. Yeah, Mark, I hear you. Mark says, stop taking two tick break evens and take profit on target. All right. So here we go. We got the break of the 40 now. Okay, so we've bounced off of the 60. We're going to anticipate the market's going to go down here to the 20. I can eliminate that because that will no longer be my profit order. And once again, if I get because we're at the 40, I'm going to anticipate a little bit of a hiccup. Oop, didn't get it yet. That little hiccup, that little hook, and subsequent failure will be my cue to perhaps bring my stops in. Okay, there's the hook. Now we'll see whether the sellers really have it going on. Notice we're getting a first micro macro cross signal building. We've got the warning dot. No signal as of yet. Yes, Scott's saying, get your +2. There we go. There's the hook. Okay, so I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive on this. I'm going to bring my stops in. I'll use the crest here in the macro line to cover the trade. But look at the congestion here. Pretty much for the last half hour, with this exception right here. We haven't really gotten too far out of this whole 70-70 price zone. Ah, okay. Thanks, Ray. Ray says he also agrees. He says, I'm loving the rabbit hole Fridays. I forgot to send to you interesting things. The Fibonacci or Elliott waves is something to learn. All right, I can accommodate you. We're still hanging on that 40 zone. Okay, you see the bounce now off of the 40? That's not what we wanted to see. So it just kind of confirms that we're still in the sideways range. That's why it would have been a better shorting opportunity to actually let it get down here to the 20 and then get up to the 60, then look for your short. That would tell us that the market is actually ready to trend. All right, stopped out on that one. Frank's asking, can we see the indicator warehouse RSI? I may have to open up my Ninja 7 for that. I don't think I have it in here. Just double checking. No, I don't see it here. All right, well, bear with me a moment. And I will get that up and running for you. Here we go, Ninja 7. Oh, I know, Mark. Mark says there's a Ninja 8 version. There is a Ninja 8 version. Oh, oh, how do you like that? Hmm. Darn it. Seems like my Ninja 7 has been disabled. All right. I'm not going to be able to show it to you. right now, anyways. Mark says it's in the members area and the customer hub. Yes, it is there. You can go download it. The biggest difference is, and here we'll go back to indicator warehouse. The biggest differences are just the sheer functionality of it. The fact that you can select from 3 different calculations. They're going to just give you a different look. They essentially tell you the same kind of thing. You have the alerts, which is kind of cool. So you can adjust your overbought, oversold levels, and it will produce signals. So you'll get arrows or audio alerts. And it has the standard settings. And like I said, you can put markers when it's overbought or oversold. This is kind of cool too, the background coloring. I really like that. I'll have to, like I said, it totally slipped my mind that why wasn't I featuring the indicator warehouse RSI, because it is much better than the standard NinjaTrader. But I will put it on and I'll show it to you in the trading room so you guys can see it. But yeah, it's like I said, it's free. So check it out. Yeah, Ray says, I've already loaded the new current Ninja 8 version of the Ultimate RSI, and he says it's working great. Indicators like that, we had no problem reprogramming. It's the trickier stuff like the Raptor, and of course the ongoing battle with the trade manager. Okay, so here now we are in that 40-80 zone, suggesting the market's going to get a little bit more bullish. If you have the patience for it, ideally we want to see a bounce off of the 80, then the market come down at or near the 40 and hold that zone. That would tell us that we are definitely outside of the chop. The fact that we broke above the 60 and held is also a pretty good indication. And certainly if we get above this peak, it's probably a pretty good indication that the market will continue higher. So let's see if we can get above that point right there. Aha! Look at that. Stinkers. So here now the last valley, the last hook. So what's likely to happen, because we're this close to the 80, once again, if we come down now to the 40 and hold, that would be a buy opportunity for me. And depending how aggressive you want to be on this, if we see a breach of this swing, you could certainly look to short. After all, we're on the hawk here. Our targets are fairly modest. It's not usually asking too much to grab a couple of dollars. Come on. So this is what I meant about anticipating. Once you get used to the indicator, there you go. I was going to say I could anticipate that the market would probably produce or a break on the next bar, and that's what it did. See how smart I am? Notice I make all these kinds of comments outside of the listening range of my wife. she may have a few other things to add. All right, so not a signal that occurred on any of our tools, really, not on the Hawk, not on the Falcon. No, in fact, the Falcon is kind of working a late filter entry signal there. And not on the Raptor either. And yet the RSI kind of giving us that little bit of a look behind the scenes. Okay, here's the bounce now off of that 40 zone. I missed the macro pullback signal, but I might have a second push opportunity on that, especially if it hooks here near the 60. That would probably make it a safer signal to take. Oh, no, there you go. So good follow through on that macro pullback, which came off of this 40 line bounce. So we're still kind of in bull territory. Now I'm a little bit too late to get into it, although they are still giving me some follow through. Just kind of eyeballing a possible trend line. Oh, we breached the trend line. So the buyers still got it under control here. Good question here from Paul. Paul asked, do you consider divergences? RSI is really good at picking up divergence as well. Here we have one in the making, which is probably why Paul asked. So prices are going higher, RSI is heading lower. Yes, when I remember to look for them. I don't remember if the ultimate RSI points out divergences or not. The thing with divergences is almost every indicator will have a divergence at some point. And that doesn't always follow through. It's better to stay with trend. I think it's better to identify trend and avoid the counter trend. When I look back on my trading notes and my journals, the vast majority of my losing trades have all been counter trend attempts. But yeah, it's a valid question because divergence is definitely a feature of RSI. All right, folks, looks like that's pretty much going to be it for today. If you are going to try trading the rest of the day, we've definitely got a bit of a bullish slant to the day. So I think you might want to stay on the buy side as much as possible. And I will try to get the ultimate RSI loaded up so you guys can see what that looks like next week. And if there's an indicator or something that you would like to see, then by all means, let me know. And yes, Paul, the RSI is set at 14. What tends to happen with the larger values is everything smooths out a little bit. These peaks and valleys are less pronounced. And then, of course, if you reduce it, everything becomes more exaggerated. But generally speaking, the overall results don't change that much, especially if you're using the mean Renko bars. It might be a little bit different on a time-based chart. The most popular settings for RSI are actually based on lunar cycles. So half a lunar cycle is 14. And 9, I never understood why, 9 and 25. And again, beats me why. But, you know, most often, I always just stay with the default values unless I have reason to change. Okay, have yourselves a great weekend. Okay, Tom's asking for Fibonacci and Frank's asking for the indicator warehouse RSI and double stochastics. Okay, gang, I will do my best to accommodate you. I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.